Coruscant was the Star Wars universe's most iconic city planet, the capital of the Republic, Empire, and New Republic. It had a population in the trillions, composed of beings from every conceivable sentient species, living in an enormous vertical city composed of over 5,000 levels. The planet was an engineering marvel, as it was entirely artificially maintained, with atmospheric scrubbers, orbital mirrors, and even weather regulators. But how did Coruscant as we know it come to be? In this video, we'll be answering that question as we explore the pre-Clone Wars history of Coruscant.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
The planet that would eventually be named Coruscant lay in the core worlds, orbiting the star Coruscant Prime. The planet's oldest recorded name was Notron, and it was the sixth planet from its sun, located near the outer edge of its star's habitable zone. Notron was a temperate, if somewhat chilly world, mostly covered by oceans. Very little of what its original ecosystem is like was known, apart from the fact that by 200,000 BBY, the planet had become home to two sentient species, a species of grey-skinned reptilians named the Tongs, and the first humans who assembled into the 13 nations of Gel. 200,000 years before the Clone Wars, the Tongs and the Gel fought a war for control of Notron. At first, the battalions of Gel had the upper hand, but during one great battle, a volcanic eruption destroyed the city of Great Gel, throwing the humans into chaos and giving the Tongs a second chance at victory. Nonetheless, the Gel eventually overcame this setback, and the Tongs were driven off-world in crude spacecraft. The surviving Tongs wandered the galaxy for hundreds of thousands of years, eventually becoming the first Mandalorians. The Gel, meanwhile, began industrializing their world. Over the course of countless thousands of years, their human descendants built a vast city covering the entire planet. Oceans were drained, and by 100,000 BBY, all of Notron had vanished under city blocks. With the help of the Gree, the humans built infrastructure that allowed them to expand their great city vertically, and for millennia to come, what would later be named Galactic City steadily expanded, eventually growing to be 5,126 levels tall. Notron, for all intents and purposes, ceased to exist, and the planet was renamed based on how the great city gleamed from orbit, resembling an enormous Coruscant stone. It became known as Coruscant. In 30,000 BBY, Coruscant was annexed by the Infinite Empire, which controlled the galaxy at that point in history. The Rakata took humans from Coruscant as slaves, spreading them across the galaxy, but for the most part, their grip on Coruscant was tenuous at best, as there simply weren't enough Rakata to firmly control Galactic City. While part of the Infinite Empire, Coruscant mostly continued to manage its own affairs, and the Coruscanti regularly stole and reverse-engineered Rakatan technology, allowing them to build an interstellar civilization of their own. Starting in 27,500 BBY, Coruscant began sending out sleeper ships, which established human colonies all over the core worlds. By the time the Infinite Empire fell in 25,200 BBY, humanity had been seeded on dozens of worlds, and in 25,053 BBY, the invention of the hyperdrive brought them back into contact with Coruscant. What followed was a brief war that led to the signing of the Galactic Constitution on Coruscant. As part of that treaty, the various human worlds pledged to form a unified government, the Galactic Republic, and Coruscant became its capital. Much of Coruscant's subsequent history is tied up with the history of the Republic. We've already made a video on that, quite a long one too, so we won't be reinventing the wheel in this one. Rather, we'll only be focusing on what specifically affected Coruscant going forward. Coruscant's status as the seat of the Galactic Senate and the Republic's most populous member world brought it considerable prestige on its own, but the founding of the Republic's first major hyperspace routes made Coruscant even more important. The Perlemian trade route and the Corellian Run, the Republic's first major routes into the greater galaxy, both began at Coruscant, which made the planet a major trading hub. It also made Coruscant a major target. During the Tyrannese War, the Republic's first war, Tyrannese fleets cruised down the Polemian and shelled Coruscant with enormously destructive pressure bombs. The Republic eventually won that war, repaying the Tyrannese capital of Desevro in kind, but Coruscant suffered badly from the attack. Its first, but not its last. Nonetheless, Coruscant rebuilt, and as the Republic expanded, it prospered greatly. For much of Republic history, however, its status as the most powerful planet in the Republic was not unchallenged. Alsacan, one of its closest neighbors, set itself up as Coruscant's main rival, competing with the Coruscantites for settlement rights in the newly explored Inner Rim and Expansion region. This eventually blossomed into the Alsacan conflicts, a series of soft civil wars that saw the Republic divided between Coruscant, Alsacan, and their dependencies, with a faction of systems led by Corellia remaining neutral. There were 17 Alsacan conflicts over the course of Republic history, with the first beginning in 17018 BBY and the last ending in 3017 BBY. Most of these conflicts were inconclusive, but by the end, Coruscant was left as the stronger of the two powers, Alsacan's influence faded, and Coruscant indisputably became the heart of the Republic. Apart from a few battles during the Alsacan conflicts and Pius Dea crusades, Coruscant continued to grow and prosper in relative peace until 5000 BBY, when the Great Hyperspace War brought the forces of the Sith Empire into Republic space. The bulk of the Sith fleet attacked Coruscant, landing waves of war beasts and Massasai warriors and overwhelming the planet's defenders. But, thanks to the help of the Jedi, the Sith were eventually defeated, and the victory at Coruscant emboldened the Republic's defenders, who went on to dismantle the Sith Empire. After the end of the Great Hyperspace War, the Senate voted to gift a tract of land containing one of Coruscant's tallest mountains to the Jedi Order. This site, which maintained a Force nexus, had long been one of Coruscant's most important religious sites, and its peak was still exposed at this time. The Senators hoped the Jedi would build a fortress at the site from which to defend Coruscant from future Sith incursions, but the Jedi, instead, elected to build a temple, a satellite academy separate from their main headquarters on Asas. 1,000 years later, Asas was destroyed in the Great Sith War, which also saw Coruscant attacked yet again, this time by the Sith Lord Ulic Qel-Droma and his Krath and Mandalorian allies. The Jedi High Council chose to relocate to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant after the war, which greatly expanded in the following years, becoming the new heart of the Jedi Order. This original Jedi Temple didn't last too long, however. It was destroyed in 3653 BBY during the sacking of Coruscant. In this catastrophic battle, which took place at the end of the Great Galactic War, Sith forces destroyed the Jedi Temple, captured the Senate, and killed the Supreme Chancellor, dealing catastrophic damage to Galactic City in the process. The Sith briefly took control of the planet, leveraging it to win control of half of Republic space in the subsequent Treaty of Coruscant. It took Coruscant decades to rebuild from the attack, and only recovered fully after the Sith Empire disintegrated sometime before 3600 BBY. In this time, the Jedi Temple was rebuilt, and the Senate Hall was as well, replaced with a larger, grander building. Coruscant continued to grow and prosper during the Inter-Sith Wars period, but the start of the new Sith Wars brought a sudden stop to this period of renewed prosperity. This 1,000-year conflict saw the Republic slowly decline, and Coruscant suffered accordingly. Around 1100 BBY, Coruscant was attacked yet again, but this time it avoided capture by the Sith, who fell into civil war over who would be Dark Lord of the Sith after Coruscant was taken. The following century, the Republic Dark Age, saw the Republic all but cease to exist. This was a dark time for the galaxy, and Coruscant suffered alongside everyone else, although it and the other core worlds were kept safe from Sith incursions by the Jedi. When the Dark Age came to an end, the Republic experienced a revival, the start of a final 1,000-year golden age. Coruscant, as always, benefited greatly from this, and it experienced a long period of peace. For over 1,000 years after it last came under siege during the New Sith Wars, no galactic power dared to attack Coruscant, and beings from all over the galaxy immigrated to the planet seeking a safe haven. This state of peace lasted until the outbreak of the Separatist Crisis, which saw Coruscant attacked several times by Separatist-aligned terrorists. These Separatist attacks escalated throughout the Clone Wars, culminating in the Battle of Coruscant, the first in over 1,000 years. So, that's our abridged look at the history of Coruscant, the capital of the Republic. But what do you think? Would you like to see more videos about Coruscant in the future? Feel free to post your thoughts in the comment section below.